the channel. So today we are going to start with our very new playlist that is for the Microsoft Agent Framework. So in this learning path we are going to see what are the core components of this framework and different integration that it has and tools and MCPs, A2A, AG, UI protocol, everything that we are going to see using this agentic framework. This is our very first video in this learning path and where we will see what is this and why do we require that, and then we will see how to create our very first agent and how to add some memory to it. Okay, this is what all about this video, and in our upcoming videos we will further see the different component that it has, and at the end we will see some useful use case as well by using all the integrations that we have. Yeah, so without any further ado, let us get started with this video. So you might have a couple of questions that Microsoft itself is releasing multiple frameworks on enabling the AI application development. Two of them are Semantic Kernel and AutoGen. Okay, right? So each of these framework has its own pros and cons and its own USPs, right? When you talk about the semantic kernel itself, semantic kernel is a very great tool for the orchestration, no doubts about it, and it has a industry and enterprise level connectors. It has a tool plugin concepts, and even it does has a planner concept as well. And coming to the AutoGen, it is more like a research tool. A lot of experimental features will be keep releasing, and there is any time that your code might break, right? And it is also having that multi-agent orchestration and planning. So the agent framework is something they're trying to unify this entire platform to develop the agentic applications and using the best of the both of these worlds. And the beauty of this one is it's sort of giving you a sort of production grade application, and still it has all the integration with the enterprise or the different AI providers or whatnot. So this is sort of unifying that all the things. We will see the pros and cons of this agent framework as we progress to this. In compared to with the semantic kernel, it doesn't have a multiple programming language support for now. It just has a C# and Python. And for this entire series, we are going to use a Python as a programming language, and so we are going to use the OpenAI models again from the Foundry. So if you want to use any other models, any other providers, there is no question about it, because the agent framework has the multiple integration that you should be able to use across with all the local models, Cloudy or Gemini or whatever it is. Okay, no question about it. So the Microsoft agent framework has three main core components as per their dev. So it has a model, it has a tool, and it has a context. So in a very simple term, what is meant by agent? Agent is something which will do certain task for the user request by utilizing its resources available, right? So in this case, model is something that will give the intelligence to the agent in order to think and reason for that response to be completed, right? And tools is something that is very interesting, where we will be having functionalities available so that agent can take the right tool for the right question, right? The tools are nothing but the functionalities that we are enabling agent to use it for the user question to fulfill the response, right? And the context here is nothing but how are you giving a memory to the agent, how are you giving the relevant information that is required to reason for the response, right? Either it can be data from the vector database, or it can be from the SharePoint, it can be from the any other enterprise things, right? Everything comes under the context. Now we have something called workflow as well. So workflow is something you might have already seen with the semantic kernel like planner and where you can complete very complex tasks by using the multi-agent system, right? But in the semantic kernel, as I remember, it is something sort of like it will create a plan using that intelligence of the LLM. Then it will perform in the sequence, and we have some configuration how many times it can look that termination point something. But here it is sort of a agentification. where we can create the pre-planned workflows using the agents and complex tasks. Okay, we'll be exploring all these concepts in our upcoming videos, so please stay tuned and make sure you are subscribing to this channel and share with others whoever you think they might need some knowledge on this agent framework. Now, as a prerequisite for this course is you need to have a Python. I have a Python 3.1.3, but you can check which is the minimum version that this agent framework is supporting. Then for the LLMs, I'm using the Azure OpenAI models from the Foundry, and then I have already created my LLM for GPT-4o, and I have gathered all the endpoints, API keys, and I kept them into the env value, and I'm loading that. So this is the pip command that you have to use to install this framework in your machine. Make sure you are using the virtual environment so that you will not mess up with different versions, because it is still in the preview mode, I guess. So make sure you are using virtual environment and install all of your dependencies over there. Then, so since I said I'm using the Azure Foundry, here I'll be using the agent framework with Azure, and there are multiple ways to create agents. So in this case, we have Azure OpenAI chat clients, Azure OpenAI assistant client, Azure OpenAI response client. So each one has its own pros and cons, when to use and when not to use. For this demo, I'm going to use the Azure OpenAI chat client. And as you know, this is .env, I'm using that to load all the env files in the same directory. So once after that, you have to initialize this Azure OpenAI chat client the way I have mentioned here, using the endpoint, API key, API version, and deployment name. But also in the enterprise level, if you are thinking, it is also supporting with your default credential object. So once you initialize this chat client, then you have to create an agent out of the chat client. It is so simple. You just need to use this chat client object, and there is a method to create an agent, that is create agent. So when you are creating agent, you have to certainly pass on certain information, that name, description, instructions, and there are a couple more: the middleware, chat message factory, context providers, conversation ID, so on. So we will talk about them in our upcoming videos. Okay, no worries. But if you are curious, you can go and explore this from the official documentation as well. Now I have given a very name, simple agent, and a description and set of description says that what this agent is all about, and instructions are we have to give a certain prompts or certain guidelines to the agent, how it has to behave for a user question and how it has to respond, right? So that is what you are going to give in the instructions. So this is a very basic agent that we are creating. I created that. Then for rendering that markdown properly in this Jupyter notebook, I have imported these. Now coming to our very first question. So I just created one question for our example. Then I have run. So to run the prompt using the agent, you have a command called run. And you do have a streaming option as well. You can explore multiple ways of running this thing, but this is the simplest way to run a prompt. Okay, when you run, it will always give you agent run response as a type. Okay, remember that, because we will talk about it later in our upcoming videos. Now I have taken the text, that out content of that response, and I have used the markdown to display that. This is how it has given. Then if you are concerned about the number of tokens is being used and how it is performing for your maybe other observability or something, you can use the token uses. So where you can actually see how many tokens that we have inputted and how many tokens were used to generate the response and what is the total token count, right? So this is how you can easily get it. Now then I have used the same agent and asked one more question to summarize what we have discussed so far, just to test whether the inbuilt chat mechanism, the chat history is working or not. But if you see, it is not. It is saying that no, we haven't had any detailed conversation yet. That means the chat store is not installed by default. So if you want to enable the chat store in memory by default, there is a ways. So these agents will work based on the threads. Okay, you need to use the thread of that agent so that you can replay or you can use that the context between the multi-turn conversations. Okay, now what I did is just to show you how you can use the threads. I just created one more conversation agent, same the way we created a simple agent before. Then out of this new conversation agent, I created a thread. So thread is something which will give that some memory to the agent. You can enable the external and persistent memories if you require, but for this example, we'll go with the in-memory chat store. Okay. So by default, if you're not giving any of these context providers or something, I believe it will take the default in-memory chat store. Okay. So what I'm doing is I just created one more simple helper method where we can pass the agent and the prompt that has to be asked and the thread. Okay. So here I created this functionality and passing the prompt and thread for this agent. Now if you see, all you need to do is you need to create a thread and pass it over. Okay. Then when you ask me the same question, it has given a certain answer. Then I have asked the follow-up question saying that something. So it still has the context of the Python or C#. It was able to give us some questions. Then I did even given my name and I asked the differences in a more table format so that I can remember it better, right? So it found that my name and the differences whatever it has already given, but it kept in the table format the way that I have asked. And if I ask for this summarize, yes, it was able to remember my name and the context that we are talking, everything. But you might need to think about it, since it is storing all the chat conversation. If you see that input token count is keep increasing question by question. The reason is it is holding the entire chat history that we are talking and it is passing to the LLM every time. So the input token count is always increasing. The output token is just depends on how much it is getting output, correct? So that is how it is working. We will see further how we will manage this input token in different strategies. But for now, this is the very basic example that we can think of creating a very first agent using the agent framework. So I hope this video was helpful to get started with this agent framework. In our upcoming videos, we will see more on the concepts and the capabilities of this agent framework in depth. Okay. Please do share your feedback in the comment section so that we can improve the overall delivery of this content. Okay. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.